Good morning, students. Welcome to Zoology webinar session. Children, over the ages, time passed. Humans evolved, which led to new inventions and discoveries, which brought huge changes in the world. Science and technology is one branch which has been growing rapidly during this human timeline, isn't it? Despite the fact that technology completes the work and solves the problem faster than humans. Yes or no? Yes. It still could not do what a woman only can do, isn't it? Especially the womb. Often described as the most beautiful and magnificent process on the planet Earth, and the only process which continues the existence of mankind, life. Yes? Yes, it is about reproduction, the process which leads to creation of the next generation in which a man grow up and makes the next generation which makes the planet earth green, more green and a better place for their successes. Today for the beautiful reproduction session of the human in humans, I welcome Mrs. G. Prashanti Garu, PGT, Mulkanuru from Karimnagar district. Okay, she's well qualified and she has MSc B.Ed. She has a vast experience of 10 years in vivid colleges, including B.Ed colleges. And she's pursuing PhD also from Dr. Rajendra Prasad Garu. I welcome Prashanti Garu. Madam, good morning.
Good morning, madam.
Yes, please continue the session, madam. Today, madam will be dealing with female reproductive system in humans. Okay, so children, enjoy the session.
Good morning, everyone. I am Prashanti, working as PGT Zoology, TS Model School, Mulkanur, hailing from Karimnagar district. I am before you all to speak about female reproductive system from the chapter Human Reproduction, that is 5A chapter. And I'm also thankful to Vijayalakshmi Madam, Principal Narsapur, for giving me this opportunity. Let's start with a saying, gods reside in places where a woman is worshipped. This is our culture. Every day we wake up early morning by sunrise. Can you guess what does this sunrise teach us? Yes, the sun god Surya rises only after chanting an ode to goddess Usha. So this teaches respect and humanity towards the woman. But in the reality, when we see, the situation is different. So there are many social practices, evils going on around the country, like child marriages, female feticides, and the cheap abortions, and many people that is prefer sons over the daughters. So the gender bias do exist even right now. Due to this, the government has taken many initiatives like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, Beti Utsav, Beti Zindabad. So these are all the initiatives taken to ensure the protect the girl child. So let's educate ourselves, students. Let's learn about ourselves, the changes in the body, and hope we can maintain some mutual respect, decorum in the class while we go ahead with this topic, female reproductive system and protect the female child. In this topic, my learning objectives, that is, you will be able to identify the various parts of female reproductive system, explain it in detail, and differentiate it from the male reproductive system, explain and draw a neat label diagram, and appreciate the functioning of female reproductive system. The key terms included in this topic are ovaries, germinal epithelium, tunica albuginea, follicles, fallopian tube, fimbriae, corpus luteum, uterus, vagina, vulva, cervix, labia majora, labia minora, mammary glands. Yes, what is the purpose of reproduction? The function of the reproductive system, whether it may be male or female, its purpose and specialized function is to continue the species. Then what will happen if there is no continuation? Then the generation will be stopping. So reproduction is very important. Let's classify the reproductive system organs. We can classify them into two types, that is primary sex organs, secondary sex organs. What are primary sex organs? These are directly involved in reproduction. Next, when you come to secondary sex organs, these are not directly involved in reproduction, but they assist in reproduction. So let's learn about them. When you see the primary sex organs, these are the gonads they are present in both male and female reproductive systems. When you see in the male, it is testis, and in the female, it is ovaries, and they produce gametes. The testes produce sperms and ovaries produce egg. And what is the functioning of secondary sex organs? So they help to put the sperm and egg to come together. So both the primary and secondary sex organs comprise a main role in the reproductive system. So this is the diagram of the female reproductive system. So here, when you see female reproductive system is a complicated but a fascinating subject. Although a man is needed to reproduce, it is the woman who incubates the developing fetus and delivers the child to the beautiful outside world. Here, it contains both external and internal organs that are helpful in reproduction. Here, this is the diagram which has been given in your Telugu Academy textbook and also in your NCERT textbook. So let's see the diagram sectional view. So here there are two ovaries. They are present on either side of the uterus, and this is being connected by two fallopian tubes. And at the center of the fallopian tubes, there is uterus followed by cervix and next followed by vagina. So this is the brief introduction. Each and every part. So in another type of classification, we can classify as internal organs, external organs. Internal organs. Internal organs, they lie inside the pelvic region. Okay, so in the female reproductive system, let's see what are the internal organs. They are two ovaries, two fallopian tubes, and a single uterus, single cervix, and single vagina. Next, when you take the external organs, these are present outside the pelvis. So that's why the name is given as external organs, students. And they are external genitalis, mons pubis, clitoris, and labia. These external organs, their function is twofold. That is, one is it protects the internal organs, and the next one is to ensure the sperm to enter the body. So both the internal and external organs, they comprise female reproductive system and they support sexual and reproductive activities. So we can also classify as a primary and secondary, as we have already learned, and we can further classify the secondary sex organs. So the secondary sex organs are classified as accessory ducts, accessory glands, external genitalia. Then what are the accessory ducts? They are uterus, fallopian tube, cervix, vagina. Accessory glands are mammary glands, and external genitalia is of the various organs in the abdominal region. So when you see, the neck region is called as a cervical region, and the rib region is called thoracic region, and below it is called as abdominal region. So here the parts, just see students, that is ureter, fallopian tube, ovaries, uterus, urinary bladder, cervix, vagina. Where are they located? Yes, students, they are present in the lower abdominal cavity. This is otherwise called as pelvic cavity. So we can say that the female reproductive system parts are embedded in the lower abdominal or pelvic cavity. This is the diagrammatic sectional view of the female reproductive system. So the site of the ovum production, the site of fertilization, and the site of implantation. These are part and parcel of female reproductive system. Let's study about this important system. So this is the 3D animation picture, students. Just see, there are two ovaries connected by tube-like structures, fallopian tubes, and at the center of the tubes, there is fallopian, that is uterus. Do you all remember where we began studying the male reproductive system? Yes, you have learned this topic even in your 10th class. Yes, we have studied the male reproductive system from the site of sperm production. Similarly, we can begin learning from the site of reproduction of the egg cell in the female right now. So the journey begins from these oval structures. What are they? Yes, they are ovaries. Ovaries is derived from the Latin word ovarium. Ovarium means egg or nut. So when you take in the singular form, it is ovary, and the plural form, it is ovaries. And this is a primary sex organ, also known as female gonads. Let's see the color, the size, and the location of the ovaries. Ovaries are white in color, and they are nearly the size of the walnut. They are held in place, that is floating on either side of the uterus and fallopian tube. And these are connected by ligaments. What are ligaments? Ligaments means connections, means it just cannot float. It is having some connections which is making to float on either side of uterus and fallopian tube. Yes, they are intra-abdominal, means they are present within the abdomen. So they are called as intra-abdominal. Next, when you see ovaries, the primary sex organs in female, they produce both gametes and steroid hormones. Yes, just recall students that you have learned in your 10th class. What are the male gametes? Yes, they are sperms. Then what are the female gametes? Yes, they are ovum, which is otherwise called as the egg cells. And not only the egg cells, the ovaries are producing, they are also producing hormones, that is estrogen and progesterone. Then what do? They play an important role in the establishment and maintenance of pregnancy. When you see the size of the ovary size is 2 to 4 centimeters in length, 1.5 centimeters in width, and 1 centimeters in thickness. So that is 2 into 1.5 into 1. So that is the size of the ovary. Then is the size of the ovary the same? No. Ovary size changes with the age. Ovary is of the smallest size before a woman reaches puberty. That is, they are less than 20 mm in diameter. Ovary size increases when during puberty. When mature, ovaries are about the size of the grape. Here, already I have said, ovaries are having connections. They are termed as ligaments. So here in the picture, you find 3 types of ligaments. That is ovarian ligament, suspensory ligament, broad ligament. Okay, let's see to the ligaments. First one, ovarian ligament. This is also known as utero-ovarian ligament. So here, this is attached to the ovary inferiorly. It connects ovary to the side of the uterus. The next one is suspensory ligament. So it extends outward from the ovary to the lateral abdominal wall. The third type of ligament is broad ligament. So that is a flat sheet of peritoneum associated with the three, that is the fallopian tube, uterus, and ovaries. So once again, I repeat students, ovarian ligament, suspensory ligament, broad ligament. So just see the picture here, the broad ligament, it is a flat sheet of peritoneum, and ovarian ligament connecting ovary with that of the uterus. So we can say the broad ligaments are divided into three regions. They are mesometrium, mesovarium, mesosalpinx. Yes, supports the uterus, and it occupies the major portion in the broad ligament. Next, when you see mesovarium, so this is supporting the ovary. Mesosalpinx, this supports the oviduct. Well, students, these terms will be asked in your NEET EAMCET examinations, like what is the layer of the broad ligament surrounding the uterus, surrounding the ovary, likewise. So you all have to remember these terms. So this is the female reproductive system, anatomical view of each and every part. Mesovarium. Mesovarium is the portion of the broad ligament of uterus that suspends the ovaries. Blood vessels and the nerves pass to the ovary through the mesovarium. Then what do the ovaries produce? We have already learned they produce eggs and also the hormones, that is estrogen and progesterone. Then how many eggs ovary produce? Yes, you may wonder that every female baby is born with 500,000 immature ova or follicles in the two ovaries. And when you see, these are all immature. And the layer that is surrounding the ovary is germinal epithelium. And this germinal epithelium is made of cuboidal cells, oogonia. And inner to the germinal epithelium, there is another layer called as tunica albuginea. And just recall the students, what are the layers present in the spermatogonia of the testis also. So here, when you see in the testis, the germinal epithelium is present on the inner side. So this diagram shows the sectional view, that is the TS of the ovary. So the outer layer of the ovary is germinal epithelium, and just inner layer is tunica albuginea. And in this picture, here there are follicles which are being distributed. Just see students, they are primary follicles, tertiary follicles, Graafian follicles. How are they appearing? Yes, they are beautifully distributed all over the cortex regions. And here, when you see, that is the ovum is released, thus ovulation, and this leads to the next body, that is the corpus luteum. And you see the another body, that is corpus albicans. And just we'll see to it in detail. So this is the slide of the ovary showing germinal epithelium. Students, where is germinal epithelium located? Germinal epithelium is the outer layer of the ovary. Then what is towards the inner side? It is tunica albuginea. Yes, the germinal epithelium encloses ovarian stroma. What is stroma? Stroma is the space in the middle of the ovary, and this is differentiated into two regions, that is the peripheral cortex and inner medulla. The cortex is present towards the periphery and medulla towards the inner side. And we can also say them as ovarian cortex and ovarian medulla. Yes. Here, this is the picture showing the cortex towards the periphery, medulla at the center part of the ovary. Yes, what are the substances present? We shall be seeing cortex. This is the outer portion, dense, having granules and the follicles which are scattered everywhere. Next, when you see the medulla, this is the inner region having loose connective tissue and the blood vessels and the nerve fibers entering into it. Yes, let us see some more details of follicles. Actually, what is a follicle? Yes, follicles are empty ball-like structures. They play an important role to support the oocyte. Here, we see the different types of follicles. That is, from one form, they are developing or transforming to the other form. So over here, when you see the primary follicles, they have been converting to secondary, tertiary, Graafian follicles. So let's see to it. So from birth, when you see ovaries of a human female, that is having nearly 500,000 primordial follicles which are immature. Okay, so these will be transforming to secondary follicles and secondary to tertiary follicles and Graafian follicles. So just see the picture, students. This Graafian follicles, they will release the ovum. So releasing of ovum is called as ovulation. Okay, so over here, this ovulation, this leads to corpus luteum. So corpus luteum stays if there is pregnancy, and if there is no pregnancy, it will be degenerating and it will be forming to corpus albicans. So these are the details of the follicles. So over here, just see the corpus luteum. So that is the Graafian follicle. When matures, it ruptures and releases the ovum and transformed to corpus luteum. Corpus means body and luteum means yellow. So yellow body. So once again I repeat, students, Graafian follicle transforms to corpus luteum. And if there is no fertilization and no pregnancy, corpus luteum degenerates and eliminates corpus luteum and forms corpus albicans. That is, corpus means body, albicans means white. So that is, it converts to white body. So this is the picture, students, showing the ovarian cortex that is at the periphery, and here that is tunica albuginea that is present towards the inner side. Yes, we have learned that there are nearly 500,000 eggs in the both ovaries. Then do they continue in their lifetime? No. So during a lifetime, a female baby will release only 400 to 500 matured eggs. But after puberty, every month only one ovum is released in the alternate turn. That is, if suppose this month one ovum is released from the right ovary, in the next month another egg is released from the left ovary. So in alternate turns, only one ovum is released. And when the ovum is released and at the time of the sexual act, the sperm may fertilize the egg. Then where is the spot of fertilization? Yes, the fertilization occurs in the fallopian tube. Yes, what are the functions of ovary? Yes, that is oogenesis. That is what we have learned. That is release of the ovary, discharge of the egg every menstrual cycle, and produce sex hormones. What are the sex hormones, students? They are estrogen and progesterone. Okay, estrogen, this develops secondary sexual characteristics, mammary glands, growth and development of reproductive tract. And progesterone, these are responsible for the secretory changes. Yes, let's evaluate in the middle, students. You all know what are the primary sex organs in the male. The primary sex organs in the male are sperms. Then what are the sex organs in female? Just think over it, students. It is the ovaries. Compare the germinal epithelium and tunica layers in testes and ovaries. Okay, you have already learned, students, the tunica layer and germinal epithelium in ovary. So let me say it once again. The germinal epithelium is the outermost layer in the female ovary, and inner layer is tunica albuginea. When you take in the testis, that is a spermatogonia, that is the germinal epithelium is present in the inner side, not the outer side, students. It is the inner side, and tunica albuginea is present in the outer side and further being protected by tunica vaginalis. So here they'll be asking, where is tunica vaginalis? Whether it is testis or ovary. So tunica vaginalis is present in testis. Otherwise, there'll be confusing questions like, where is the germinal epithelium in ovary? That is, it is present in the outermost layer. Which hormone is released by corpus luteum? Yes, it is progesterone, which is being released by corpus luteum. After ovulation, if pregnancy does not occur, to what does the corpus luteum convert to? Yes, corpus luteum converts to corpus albigans. How? Corpus luteum will degenerate in a short time if there is no pregnancy and convert to white body, that is corpus albicans. Yes, Graafian follicles, where are they present in the mammals? Yes, they are present in the ovary of the mammal. Yes, till now we have studied the primary sex organ, that is the ovary, which is involved in reproduction. Let's see to the accessory ducts. Yes, these are also involved in the process of reproduction. What are they? They are oviducts, uterus, and vagina. These three constitute the female reproductive system. Yes, students, just observe the diagram. Did you all notice the ovaries are connected to tube-like structures connecting to the uterus? Yes, what are those fallopian tubes, which are also called as oviducts or uterine tubes? They are connecting ovaries and uterus. And when you see inside the fallopian tube, it is having cilia. So it is lined by ciliated columnar epithelium, and the length it is measuring 10 to 12 centimeters. And they start from the periphery of the ovary, they move ahead to terminate in the uterus. So we can simplify and say that is, they start from the ovum and end in the uterus. Yes, site of fertilization. We can say that egg is released by the ovary and it has been moving into the follicular tube, and there the sperm unites with the egg at the fallopian tube. So therefore we can say that the place of fertilization is fallopian tube. Then what is the layer of the broad ligament that is covering the uterine tubes? That is mesosalpinx. What are the functions of fallopian tube? The fallopian tube, it will be helpful for the movement of the sperm to the egg and also movement of the fertilized egg into the uterus. So it is a twofold function. Yes, the fallopian tube is differentiated into three parts, that is infundibulum, ampulla, and isthmus. Just see the parts in the diagram, student. Ovary, and here that is a red colored tube-like structure, that is a fallopian tube, differentiated into three parts. Once again, I repeat the parts: infundibulum, ampulla, and isthmus. So here it is more clear in this diagram: infundibulum, ampulla, and isthmus. So these three comprises of uterine tube, which is also called as oviduct. Yes, where do the fertilization occurs? So here the fertilization takes place in the fallopian tube. And here the ovum is being released by the ovary, and by which part it is being collected? Yes, it is being collected by the fallopian tube, some finger-like projections. Okay. So we'll see to the part, student. This is the proximal part and the lateral end. So when you see the infundibulum, it is an open funnel-shaped structure, and this is close to the ovary. If we looked at it carefully, students, they are finger-like projections, isn't it? Yes. Then what are they called as? They are called as fimbriae. and these help in collecting the ovum after ovulation. These fimbriae, they create suction and collect the egg to the fallopian tubes. Yes, the fimbriae, they will be holding the ovum and they are moving into the fallopian tube. Yes, here is a question, students, before you all. Why do ovum require sweeping activity? Yes, unlike sperm, ovum is non-motile. When you take the parts of the sperm, it is having head, middle piece, neck and tail. That is, due to the tail, it is able to swim. But ovum, what is the structure? It is oval in structure. It is not having any tail. So, as it is non-motile, it cannot be moving by itself. So, it should be pushed or swept by the other cells. Then, what are the things involved in sweeping the ovum? Here, it is the fimbriae that is helpful in sweeping, and also the cilia present in the fallopian tube. These both are helpful in sweeping the ovum into the fallopian tube. Yes, next move into the next part, it is ampulla. This is the broad part and also central dilated part. This is derived from the Latin word ampulla, that is flask. So it appears like a flask shaped structure which is swollen, and already we have learned the fertilization. Where is the spot? In the fallopian tube, that also in the ampulla place fertilization takes place. What is fertilization? Union of sperm and the egg. So sperm will fertilize the egg in the ampulla part of the fallopian tube. Then to which part it is being collected? Well, students, from the ampulla, it moves to the next part. What is the next part? It is isthmus. Okay, so fertilization occurs in the fallopian tube, that also in the ampulla. Yes, here that is ectopic pregnancy. So there is a complication sometimes occurring in the females. It is a complication of pregnancy in which embryo attaches outside the uterus, usually in the fallopian tube, instead of its journey to the uterus. Actually, the fertilized egg should move into the uterus for implantation. But in ectopic pregnancy, here the embryo will implant in the fallopian tube itself. Then what will happen? Yes, the baby cannot find enough space to enlarge and grow. So therefore, there is no healthy baby. And sometimes doctors advise for termination of the pregnancy. So sometimes they'll be asking, where does ectopic pregnancy occur? Where does it occur, students? It is in the fallopian tubes. Yes, just we move to the next part of the fallopian tube, that is the isthmus. This is the second narrow part and the last part of the fallopian tube. What is the first narrow part? It is ampulla. That is, we have learned, it is a very largest diameter it is occupying. And the second narrowest part is isthmus. And it is nearly 2 centimeters in length. And it is the caudal end of the oviduct joining to the uterus. And here there is one more we have to remember. Isthmus is the place where tubectomy is being done. Just recall, students, the tubectomy and vasectomy you have learned even in your 10th class. So what are they? They are family planning methods. Yes, vasectomy is being done in males. This is a surgical procedure to block the tubes and prevent the entry of the sperms. What is tubectomy? Tubectomy is done in females. Here, the fallopian tubes are cut open and once again tied to block the passage of egg into the uterus. That is, they will be blocking the egg there in the fallopian tube itself, and it will be preventing to move into the uterus. So these are the two family planning methods. Which is the main site of fertilization? Which is the main site, students? It is ampulla in the fallopian tube. Yes. Now, where does the egg move from the fallopian tube? Yes, the egg moves from the fallopian tube into a bag-like structure called as uterus. It is commonly referred as womb. Then how many uterus we find? There is single uterus and it is 8 centimeters long and 5 centimeters wide. It protects, nourishes the baby. And when we see, then what are the ligaments connecting or supporting it? Yes, we have studied just now the ligaments. It is utero-ovarian ligament connecting the uterus. And here the baby is being implanted and it will be a safe place for the complete development of the baby. So we can say that it is the site of the development of the baby, site of implantation, and it gets the baby gets proper nutrition in the uterus. And after the full development of the fetus, it will be coming out through the vagina. And here we find another layer called as placenta in the uterus, providing oxygen and nutrients to the developing embryo. Okay, so according to the uterus size, we can classify the women into two types. They are nulliparous women and multiparous women. Nulliparous, that is, the women who don't have children or never have been pregnant are called as nulliparous women. That is, the uterus is small, that is 6 to 8 centimeters. Multiparous women, that is, the woman having 2 or more children, they are having a little bit larger uterus, that is 8 to 10 centimeters. Yes, we go to the layers of uterus. Uterus has 3 layers: perimetrium, myometrium, endometrium. Just see the picture, students. These are the layers of the uterus. Peri means periphery or the outer side of the uterus is perimetrium. Myo means middle. So the middle layer is myometrium, and endo means inner. That is, the inner layer is called as endometrium. Yes, just see the picture, students. It is more clear. Perimetrium, myometrium, endometrium, the 3 layers of the uterus. Perimetrium, this is the outermost thin layer, and it is made up of a visceral peritoneum and giving or providing strength to the uterus. Just recall, students, about the pericardial space surrounding the heart. What does it do? Yes, it protects the heart from shocks. And also, here also, this layer consists of 2 layers of epithelium. It is having fluid in between, that is protecting the pelvis, the uterus layer present, without causing it to rub against each other. That is, it is helping to hold the uterus in place safely. Yes, we move to the next layer, myometrium. Myometrium is the middle thick layer. Okay, and it is also muscular layer. We can remember this, students, easily by the letter M. Myometrium, middle layer, muscular layer. So it is made of smooth muscles, and it is responsible for the contraction of the uterus by the smooth muscles and expel the baby out. It is by the contraction of the myometrium itself that delivery of the baby is possible. Here you will be asked a question like, which layer is helpful for the delivery? That is the myometrium. Yes, next comes the endometrium. Endometrium is the most innermost layer and also a very active layer having high vascularity. What is the meaning of vascularity? It means it is having rich blood vessels, and it is also having mucosal lining. Here, when you see, if the pregnancy doesn't occur, it is shed off in the form of menstrual cycle. And what happens if it is fertilized? That is, the endometrium thickens and it provides nourishment to the embryo till it ends the gestation period. Okay, endometrium undergoes monthly cyclical changes during menstrual cycle, whereas the myometrium exhibits strong contractions during the delivery of the baby. Okay, so they'll be asking about endometrium and myometrium. What is endometrium? responsible for menstrual cycle and also giving nourishment to the baby. Whereas myometrium, this is helpful for the delivery of the baby. Yes, here is a question. What is the status of the endometrium if the egg is fertilized and if the egg is not fertilized? Yes, students just answered this question. If the egg is fertilized, it will nourish the baby. If the egg is not fertilized, endometrium, it is being shed off in the form of menstrual cycle. Yes, these are the 3 layers, students. Once again recall, that is perimetrium, outside, myometrium, middle, and also endometrium, the inner layer. Yes, these are the events during the menstrual cycle. The first one is menstrual cycle, which is otherwise called as bleeding. How many days the bleeding occurs? That is from 1 to 3 days or 5 days. So we can take around 5 days the menstrual cycle. What it is? Endometrium, the blood is shed off. Next phase is follicular phase. What are follicles? They are supporting the oocyte. So here, this has been taking place from 6 to 13 days, and this prepares the endometrium for the next menstrual cycle. The third is the ovulatory phase. Yes, ovulation. What is ovulation? Release of ovary. So this takes place on the 14th day. And the last one is luteal phase, taking place an average of 15 to 28 days. So these are the various events of the menstrual cycle which occur in the female woman after puberty every 28 days. So just see the diagram, students. This is the uterus breaking down and leading to the bleeding up to 5 days. And afterwards, from the 6 to 13 days, uterus lining once again thickens. That is, it prepares for the menstrual cycle. On the 14th day, ovary is being released. And afterwards, once again, the uterine lining continues to thicken. So it prepares, might be for the pregnancy or might be for the next menstruation cycle. Uterus is anatomically divided into 3 regions. What are they? They are fundus, body, and cervix. Here, the uppermost bulgy part is the fundus, students. The middle part is the body, and the terminal part is the cervix. What is fundus? Here, this is the uppermost dome-shaped rounded part of the uterus. Okay, this is the uppermost part of the uterus. And what is body? Here, this is the middle major portion, nearly triangular shaped, and this is having a cavity in the middle called as uterine cavity. Next, when you take the cervix, cervix is the terminal part, inferior, and cervix opens into the vagina. Yes, where is the cervix located? Once again, we see, students, it is located in the pelvic region. It is single and it lies between uterus and vagina. We can also say that cervix is the neck of the uterus, and in the center it is having a canal-like structure called as cervical canal. Then what is the next part after cervix? It is vagina. Okay, so over here, the baby that is being expelled out after the gestation period comes out through the cervix. So we can define the cervix as a birth canal. Yes, we move to the next part, vagina. Vagina is a fibromuscular tube extending from cervix to the vestibule. When you see its length, it is 10 centimeters. Just see the diagram, students. It is 10 centimeters long, and this is the female organ of copulation. Okay, this has been located between the bladder and the rectum, but it is devoid of glands, means the glands are not present. So we can say it is a non-granular part. Okay, then what are the functions? Here, this is a threefold function, that is a passageway of menstrual flow, that is female organ of copulation, and also the birth canal. Out of the 3 layers in uterus, which layer undergoes cyclic changes every month and shed off? Once recall students, what are the three layers? Perimetrium, myometrium, endometrium. Then what is the layer undergoing cyclic changes every month? Well, right, it is endometrium, which is called as birth canal in female reproductive system. Yes, A, cervix, B, vagina, C, cervix and vagina, D, none of this. Then which you will be opting as the right answer? Yes, we can say both cervix and vagina, both act as birth canals. Yes, till now we have learned about internal organs and external and the secondary sex organs. Now we see to the external genitalia. External means present outside. Genitalia means outside the vagina. So the organs present outside the vagina are external genitalia, which are otherwise called as vulva. This include mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, hymen, and clitoris. Just see the picture, students. These are the external genital parts seen in the diagram. Yeah, mons pubis. Mons pubis, this has been derived from the Latin terms mons and pubis. Mons means mound, pubis means pubic bone. That is, mons pubis, it is a fatty adipose tissue layer lying in the pubic bone of the females. And pubic hair is being present on the top. External genitals, which are also called as vulva, have a depression called as vestibule. This vestibule is having two openings. One opening is present on the upper side called as urethral orifice and the lower opening called as vaginal orifice. Yes, the vaginal orifice, here that is a lowermost opening having two folds of tissue. So here they are called as labia majora, labia minora. Just observe the diagram, students. The vagina having the vaginal orifice surrounded by the two folds of tissue, labia majora, labia minora. Yes, labia means lip, majora, major means large. So these are also called as literally large lips, and these are present on the outer side. Where? Which outer side they are present? So these are extending from the mons pubis and they surround the vaginal opening. During puberty, hair appear on the labia majora. What do? They help in protecting the internal regions and also help in the lubricating secretions. Yes, they are homologous to the scrotal sac of males. What is the meaning of the term homologous? Yes, we have learned this in 10th class. Homologous means having the same origin but different in function. So labia majora is homologous to the scrotal sac of the males. Yes, we move to the next part, labia minora. Minor means small. So these are the literally small lips and these are being present under the labia majora. And here it is a very small, that is only 2 inches wide, and hair is absent in the labia minora. They surround the openings to vagina and urethra. Yes, on the labia minora, we find prepuce, a small erectile tissue, and it is also called as clitoris. This is a very finger-like projection, and this is homologous to the penis of the male. Yes, what is hymen? Hymen is a thin fold of tissue that is partially covering the opening of a vagina. Once again, I repeat, students, hymen is a thin fold of tissue covering partially the opening of vagina. Yes, as it is a very delicate tissue, everyone misconcept that it is being torn during the first coitus, that is the first intercourse. Yes, but during physical activities and also during athletics who are participating actively in sports like horse riding, cycling, etc., and also who wear tight leggings, there is a chance of breaking the hymen. So, and also a woman may persist or may not persist the hymen after the coitus. So, in such conditions, we cannot say that presence or absence of hymen is not a complete reliable indicator of virginity. Next, we move to clitoris. Clitoris is a finger-like projection that is being present on the upper side of the labia minora. This is a very sensitive part, students. It is having nerve fibers, so that's why it is very sensitive. And we have already learned it is homologous to penis. And here it is having profuse, the uppermost part, that is the fold of the skin. Which part is considered homologous to penis? It is a clitoris. Compare the tissues in penis and clitoris. Yes, the penis is made of 3 columns of tissue. These are important for your NEET examination, students. What are the 3 columns of tissue present in the penis? They are 2 layers of corpora cavernosa and 1 corpora spongiosum. But when you take in clitoris, it is made of only 2 columns of corpora cavernosa, whereas corpora spongiosum is absent. So they'll be asking in which, whether it is penis or clitoris, corpora spongiosum is absent. Well, it is clitoris, the corpora spongiosum is absent. Which part of the female reproductive system is non-glandular? Yes, the non-glandular part is a vagina. It does not secrete any enzymes or secretions, so it does not contain any gland. Labia majora is homologous to which part of the males? Yes, it is homologous to the scrotum of the males. Let's move to the accessory reproductive ducts. They are Bartholin glands, skin glands, and mammary glands. Let's see to it one after the other. Yes, vestibular glands are classified as Bartholin glands and skin glands. Bartholin's glands are also called as greater vestibular glands. Skin's glands are also called as lesser vestibular glands. So these both comprise of the vestibular glands. Bartholin glands, these are pea-sized glands. These are located on either side of the opening of vagina. Okay, so these are also called as bulbovestibular glands or greater vestibular glands. And these are homologous to bulbourethral glands, also called as Cowper's glands of the male. Yes, they secrete mucus and help in the lubrication of the vagina. Once again, I repeat, students, where are the Bartholin glands located? They are present on either side of the openings of a vagina and homologous to the Cowper's gland of the male. Yes, Bartholin glands are homologous to which part of the male? It is homologous to the Cowper's gland of the male. What is the function of Cowper's gland? So Cowper's gland, it will be releasing the sperm. So that is, it will be neutralizing such that the sperm cells cannot die, and also helpful in the lubrication of the urethra. Next, move to the next part, that is the skin glands. The skin glands are also called as lesser vestibular glands, and these are present on the lower end of the urethra, and they secrete a lubricating fluid, and these are similar to the prostate gland of the male. Yes, we move to the next gland, that is breast. The breast is under the medical term defined as mammary glands. Yes, mammary glands, this is a characteristic feature of the female mammals. Then what about the males? Yes, in the males, it is not functional. And what are the tissues present in the breast? We find glandular tissues, fibrous tissue, and adipose tissue present in the breast. Yes, the bulgy part present in the breast, it is having tissues of adipose and also having that is the lobes which are varying nearly 15 to 20. How many? 15 to 20 lobes are being present. And these are having the balloon-like structures called as alveoli. This alveoli term you have learned in the respiration chapter. That is, lungs are having air sacs. Okay, that is the sacs filled with air in the lungs are called as alveoli. But here the alveoli are filled with milk. Temporary, it is present in the alveoli. Next, the front part of the breast, it is having an erectile part called as nipple. Behind the nipple, the dark area is being present, that is called as areola. Next, when we see the cells of alveoli, that is, they join to open into the mammary tubules. The tubules of each lobe join to form a mammary duct, and several mammary ducts, they form mammary ampulla, which is connected to the lactiferous duct. Further by the nipple, the milk is being sucked out by the baby. Here, I would like to remember the term ampulla. Where did you learn the term ampulla? Ampulla, it is the site of fertilization we have learned in the fallopian tube. Here, it is mammary ampulla. That is, the ducts join to form mammary ampulla, which is connected to lactiferous duct. Further by the baby. Yes, when you see this sectional view, this is given even in your textbook, students. Here, how many mammary lobes are present in each breast? Here they are 15 to 20, and these are been having the cells, that is alveolus, having the temporary storage of milk, and these are been joining with the mammary ducts, and all these ducts join to form mammary ampulla, and further, that is, the milk is sucked out by the nipple through the lactiferous duct. So in your examinations, competitive examinations, they'll be asking about the sequence of the milk production and what are the hormones involved in it. So here it is the progesterone and also the oxytocin hormone involved in the development, and also we see that the breast enlarge during the pregnancy period under the influence of hormones. Then what is the function of the breast? They produce the milk to nurture the baby, and these are a compound tubulosaccular glands and the modified sweat glands, and they remain undeveloped until puberty, and they are developing by the hormones progesterone and estrogen. Yeah, this is the order of the secretion of the milk, students. So here they will be giving in the in sequence, and they'll be asking write the order of the secretion of the milk. Okay, so here from the mammary alveoli, it has been connected to the mammary tubule. The tubules are connected to the mammary ducts, and further by the mammary ampulla, which has been leading to the lactiferous duct, and from the lactiferous duct, the milk is being sucked out by the baby from the nipple. What are the hormones involved in mammary gland? So they are prolactin and oxytocin. What does the prolactin do? This helps in the milk formation, whereas oxytocin helps in the release of the milk. Once again, I repeat, students, that is, prolactin helps in formation of milk, oxytocin in the release of the milk. Yes, just we have an overview of the female reproductive system. Ovulation, that is, ova is being released. Where is the ova released, students? It is from the ovary, which is otherwise called as oogenesis. Then reception of sperm, that is spermatogenesis. That is, sperm is being released from the penis. And fertilization, which is otherwise called as conception. Where does it take place? Yes, we have learned the fertilization takes place in the ampulla part of the fallopian tube. Next is the pregnancy. Okay, where is it? It is being implanted in the uterus. The next one is childbirth, also called as parturition. The childbirth takes place from the cervix to the vagina to the outside. Next one is child care, also called as lactation. That is, after the child is being born, mother takes care of the baby by feeding her milk. Yes, let's recap the points what we have learned in the female reproductive system. Yes, it consists of internal organs, that is ovaries releasing the ovum, and this has been traveling to the fallopian tubes, and by the fertilization it moves into the uterus for implantation. And after the full development of the baby, it has been coming out from the cervix and the vagina to the outside world. We have also learned about the external genitalia, that is vulva, and also the mammary glands, and also the sequence of the milk production. Yes, students, can you tell me which reproductive system is more complex than the other one? Yes, students, it is the female reproductive system. Female reproductive system is more complex and slightly more complicated than the male reproductive system, as this system is designed for the complete process of fertilization as well as the growth of the baby. So we can say that the female reproductive system is more complex than that of the male. Here, I would like to ask a few questions once again. What is the inner lining of uterus? Whether it is cervix, oviduct, endometrium, fimbriae. What is the inner lining? It is endometrium. What does the fertilization involve? A release of gametes from the gonads, transfer of male gamete to the female gamete, attachment of male and female gametes, or fusion of the nuclei of male and female gametes? Yes, the fusing of the nuclei of both male and female gametes is fertilization. What is vagina? That is a central space surrounding the labia minora, inferior portion of the uterus, or a muscular tube extending between uterus and external genitalia, or the tube that carries ova from the ovary to the uterus. Yes, vagina, it has been extending between uterus and external genitalia. So the right answer is C. Which of the following is not a part of vulva? What is vulva, students? It is external genitalis. And we have learned the parts of the external genitalis. Okay, here they have given the parts and asked which is not the part of vulva. Mons pubis, clitoris, labia minora, and vagina. Which is the part which is not a vulva part? Yes, it is vagina. In a female, the homologues of the male scrotum are labia majora, labia minora, clitoris, vestibule. Yes, the right answer is labia majora. Ectopic pregnancies are referred as pregnancies with genetic abnormality, implantation of embryo at site other than uterus, implantation of defective embryo in the uterus, pregnancy is terminated due to the hormonal imbalance. Yes, the right answer is implantation of embryo at site other than the uterus.
Thank you, ma'am.
The fertilization takes place in the oviduct. So here, students, this question will be frequently asked in your examination. That is the reproductive system of the woman with a neat labeled diagram. So well, students, just remember Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, and just empower the female. And express my thanks to Satyanarayan Reddy sir, Additional Director of Model Schools, Rajiv sir, Joint Director, my principal, Srinivas sir, and also Venugopal sir, Vijayalakshmi madam, Satish sir, coordinator, Vijayalakshmi ma'am, and the whole webinar team, and my friends who have supported me. And also thank you, ma'am, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Ma. I really thank for the wonderful and informative session. The session was like a journey of mother's womb to the planet Earth. In this session, students, you have to learn about all the new terminologies which ma'am has explained you clearly. And please revisit the channel and go on write the important keywords, and also you have to practice a lot of diagrams with very good neat diagram with labelings. If you start doing the diagrams, learning the diagrams and start labeling the things, automatically you can learn the content easily. Okay. I really thank Shailaja madam as well as Prashanti madam for this session. Okay. Have a great day, children. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, everyone, for giving me this opportunity.